Hello, fellow Naruto fans. This is your boy Peaceful Warrior coming to give you a chapter review of Naruto Chapter 610. Let's get right into it. Coming into this week's chapter, we have the Jubi being summoned to the battlefield for the first time in the entire series. And I remarked in the last review, Chapter 609 review, that I thought the Ghetto Mazo was visually incomplete because I thought that the eye, although we couldn't really see it that well, only had Sharingans and did not have Rinnegan. So I was like, I thought it would be incomplete. But at the beginning of this chapter, we see that that is simply not true. The Ten Tails is in full force, but it is under the control of Madara and Obito. And right now, as it comes out, the first thing that I think to myself is this thing looks a lot like the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. I don't know if any of you all have seen that movie or even seen the trailers with Liam Neeson, but that to me is exactly what the Ten Tails looks like, the Jubi. It looks like the Kraken. Especially its tails. If you think about the tails of the Kraken and the damage they were causing, like that to me is exactly what the Jubi looks like. But with that being said, as soon as it's summoned, Madara and Obito, they go and they jump and they land on top of the Jubi. Everybody is stunned. There's an abnormal amount of fear, and rightfully so, because we need to understand something. This is the most powerful being in the Naruto universe, period. Bar none. Okay? Bar none, the most powerful being in the Naruto universe has been summoned. And it's under the control of people who are arguably the most powerful in the world as it is. Obito and Madara. And the reason why I say that is because Madara, put the business to the five Kages. That's really what he did. And Obito, it took all four of them, Naruto, B, Kakashi, and Guy, to even begin to scratch this dude. So and they're supposed to be the best that the ninja world has to offer. So I just say that. So it's the ultimate nightmare for the good guys, in other words. But, they have no choice but to rise to the challenge. That just means that they have to get all the more serious. And that's exactly what we see in this chapter. Because at first they're in awe, like, damn, I can't believe this thing is actually here. After talking about it, after starting a war to prevent its return, this thing is actually here. And it's under the control of two super powerful cats. So, while everybody is in awe, we began to get a little bit of an explanation about what happened, how it appeared, that whole thing. Because if you remember, in 609, towards the end, just before the Jubi appears, B and Naruto fire these super huge Bijudama towards the Ghetto Mazo to destroy it, to prevent the Jubi from being reborn into the world. But they fail, of course, and the Jubi returns. So Naruto starts it off. He says the bad chakra of the Mazo disappeared. And Kurama says that thing doesn't have feelings or ideals. It can't be sensed. Now this is important because if you remember, when Naruto first took some of the Kyuubi's chakra for his own, he was able to sense bad feelings, evilness, kind of like how dogs are able to sense fear. You know what I'm saying? How animals are able to have a certain sensory perception that sometimes even humans don't have. But Kurama goes on to say that thing is the same as the energy circulating on this planet, like what you feel in the earth and water and the air. It's a bit different if you do it like when you're in hermit mode, though, or sage mode is what he's talking. And so Naruto goes into Sage mode because he wants to see how strong it is. And Kurama is like, look, don't even bother. Because the only thing you'll find out is that you can't measure how strong it is. It's that powerful. It has unlimited chakra. I mean, the Jubi has unlimited chakra. So let's get that out there. So as Madara and Obito are on top of the Jubi, we see spikes come up from the Jubi and enter into the back of their heads or necks, just like how they were able to be connected to the Ghetto Mazo. And we see a little bit of an argument here. And this is something that I definitely would like you all's opinions on, because I definitely like points of view. And this is what, these videos are for. It's not necessarily just for me to give my opinion, but for us to, have our own community and just share thoughts about, what's going on in the manga and in the series. Madara says, I wanted to capture them before the Jubi was revived. They're better than I expected. Now that's strangely odd, because this means that Madara was actually going full force to try to capture being Naruto, but he wasn't able to do it. But he was beating the dog hell out of the 5 Kages, and he was just playing. So it's like, how strong is B and Naruto? Like, I feel that if Madara is saying this and he's implicating that they're actually stronger than what he expected, then we're not, then the manga did a bad job, in my opinion, of illustrating that. Of illustrating just how tough Naruto and B are. If Madara, the most powerful ninja arguably to ever live outside of Hashirama, is saying like these dudes are pretty tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, that compliment is the same type of compliment in a way that Hanzo the Salamander paid the 3 legendary Sannin, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya. And in my opinion, that's a little gripe I have about the series in general. We never really got to see that full fight, so we were able to know, okay, no wonder Hanzo said that these 3 were so tough. Just one suggestion that I have for Kishimoto for the series. But Obito is like, yo, listen, let's get going. I want to get the infinite Tsukiyomi ritual going right away. And Madara says it takes time to summon the moon with that huge genjutsu. They'll get in our way. The safest thing the safest thing is to get rid of them first with the power of the Mazo. So even though they have the Jubi, Madara is still calling this thing the Mazo. He's not acknowledging it as the Jubi. And again, I think that that's an important thing to pick up on, because as we see in the last chapter at the very end, when the Jubi is brought onto the battlefield, everybody's like, yeah, oh my goodness, the Jubi, the Jubi, the Jubi. Madara's like, oh well. So he's not in awe of this thing. And mind you, Madara has never summoned, the Mazo. So he's seeing this thing. He's never summoned the Jubi. So he's seeing this thing for the first time, and he's still referring to it as the Mazo. So it's something about that Madara is still not pleased. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's just a hard ass and nothing can faze him anymore. Whatever. Except Hashirama, though. He don't want to see him again. But as Madara is saying, okay, the safest thing to do is to get rid of these cats with the power of the Mazo. And he turns to Obito and he says, but it isn't, is it? And Obito is silent, knowing that Madara is expecting him to disagree. And Obito says, Madara, you just want to try out the Jubi's power, don't you? That's why, just like a kid, and as he's talking, Madara is like, you're wrong. A kid is someone that is too hasty and unable to wait. So they're exchanging, little jabs. I don't even want to call them jabs, but you know what I'm saying. There's some jabs. You know what I'm saying. So then we see the Jubi. He's going out of control, And as the Jubi is going out of control, we see the Nine Tails, Kurama, begin to take control of the battlefield. And he's like, look, here's what we're going to do. Okay, give me Guy, Kakashi, and that Naruto clone that's out there. I'll take care of Guy, okay? I'll take care of Naruto and Kakashi too. And let's go get this dude. We're going to wait for an opening, see what he does, and we're going to attack him as close as possible. Alright, let's dig it. Now, what happens at that point is, Kakashi remarks, hey man, you sound just like a captain. And it's funny in a way, because Kakashi, I think, he's being a little bit sentimental. Perhaps about how Minato Sensei used to, take control of the team, or who knows. But he feels like a kid again, in my opinion, in this scene. But so they began charging forward, and just that quick, the Jubi knocks all of them backwards. And as they're recovering from being knocked backwards by the Jubi, B and Kurama began charging up to fire a Bijudama. And they began unleashing a fury of Bijudamas. Or it says in the translation I'm reading, continuous Bijudama. But the Jubi fires a Bijudama back, and this thing is mega powerful. And now this is where things get a little bit confusing for me, because I think that the Eight Tails and Kurama began to cover themselves with their tails to protect themselves from the blast. And then we see B say, I leave it to you. Now, at this point, personally, I'm thinking, did B just sacrifice himself so that Naruto wouldn't get killed and the rest of the guys would be able to survive? I was like, damn, don't tell me he went out like that. And so the next panel is showing like the awesomeness of the Jubi's like super powerful Bijudama. And we see Kurama, and we see an octopus leg. And I'm like, damn, you mean to tell me B just died? Like the Eight Tails is no more? Like the Jubi is that powerful that it literally just eviscerated the Eight Tails and B? Damn. So Madara says they're pretty stubborn. And Guy is shocked, and he's like, hey Naruto, did you... And then we go on to the next channel, and then just as he's getting anxious, Naruto's like, man, look, don't worry about it. I got this. I got this, man. I got this. And Kurama is like, nice control, Naruto. And just then, Kurama says, you threw that nicely. And we see Naruto in just a regular shadow clone and Kakashi flying down on top of the Jubi where Obito and Madara are. And Obito looks up because he's getting caught by surprise. And all of a sudden, we see Kakashi warp out B from the dimension that he shares with Obito. And B comes out, Bijudama ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is going straight into your eyeballs, son. Now, that was genius. First of all, this is an excellent use of the chakra that Kurama gave Kakashi in chapter 609. When Kurama took control of Naruto, grabbed Kakashi, gave him some of his chakra, and threw him towards Obito, and Obito transported Kakashi to the dimension that he shares with Kakashi. We see Kakashi use his chakra to absorb B. Okay, this is a Biju and a Jinchuriki okay, he has enough chakra from the QB, from Kurama, to absorb B and the Eight Tails and to warp them back out at the last minute. That is sweet. That is sweet. And I also want to remark how this is the first time we see Kakashi begin to like take things in and out of the dimension that, you know, he shares with Obito. It's like, okay, you know, beginner's luck. Because it's not like this is something that he's practiced doing. The only time we've seen Kakashi use Kamui before this war has been to just send things to another dimension. But he's never sent anything back. And he certainly never came from back from the dimension himself. But now all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know, the heat of the moment, all of a sudden I'm just doing epic stuff that I've never done before. Period. So overall, this chapter was good. I mean, it has to be, right? This is the first chapter where the Jubi is introduced. You know, in my opinion, we still haven't found out anything new about it, other than it's just a big blob and it has no feelings or ideals. It has no thoughts. Its consciousness is very, you know, small because Obito is controlling how much consciousness it has. So it's not the real Jubi. You know, it's not the real Jubi. It is the Jubi, but it's not the Jubi in perfect form, like Madara says. And I just want to see how that plays out. And how this little quarrel between Madara and Obito is going to play out as well. Because both of them want to use the Jubi for two different reasons. And while they're stalling, trying to figure that out, you're giving B, Kurama, Kakashi, and Guy time to recover and take the Jubi from you. So you can't continue to argue back and forth and just think that it's going to be sweet and you won't have to worry about losing the advantage that you have right now. So, in my opinion, I'm predicting that there's going to be an altercation of some kind between Madara and Obito. Because, and if they have two different plans, if Madara doesn't really want to do the Infinite Tsukuyomi, but he has another plan for the Jubi, and Obito is really committed to using the Jubi for the Infinite Tsukuyomi, they're definitely going to have an altercation. So I definitely think that, you know, we should be looking out for an altercation between Obito and Madara. And I think that if Obito decides to turn on Madara, it's because he'll feel betrayed, but he won't go to the good guys. He's going to remain his own person, but he just wants the Jubi for himself. So that's my prediction, that's my analysis, and that's my summary for this week's chapter of Naruto. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to you all's comments in the comment section. As usual, rate and subscribe, and I look forward to kicking it with you all next week. Peace.